Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to talk about one of the most powerful books ever written on human relationships, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This book, even though written almost 90 years ago, is still as fresh and relevant as it was when first published. It is not just a guide to winning friends, but also a timeless manual for anyone who wants to influence people in a positive way, build long-term relationships, and become more effective in both personal and professional life. What makes this book special is that it doesn't rely on heavy theories or complicated psychology. Rather, it gives very simple, practical principles that anyone can apply immediately. The very first big lesson from the book is about criticism. Carnegie says that criticism never works because it wounds a person's pride, puts them on the defensive, and often makes them resentful. We think by criticizing we are correcting someone, but in reality we are pushing them away. He gives the example that even great criminals, no matter how wrong they were, always justified their actions in their own eyes. So if criminals don't see themselves as guilty, how can ordinary people easily accept harsh criticism? Instead of condemning people, try to understand them. Ask yourself, what made them act this way? When you replace criticism with empathy, you not only avoid unnecessary conflict, but you also create an environment where the other person feels safe to improve. The second principle is appreciation. Every human being craves to feel important and valued. Unfortunately, in day-to-day life, we forget to give genuine appreciation. Carnegie warns us never to confuse appreciation with flattery. Flattery is insincere and selfish. People can smell it instantly. But appreciation is genuine, specific, and heartfelt. For example, instead of just saying, "Good job," you could say, "Your detailed research really helped us complete this project successfully." That kind of appreciation makes people feel recognized and motivated to do even better. So if you want to win friends, start by giving honest and sincere appreciation. The third principle is arousing an eager want in others. Carnegie reminds us that people are not interested in what you want. They are interested in what they want. If you want someone to do something, frame it in terms of their desires, not yours. For example, instead of saying, "Please help me with this," you could say, "If we work on this together, it will save time and you'll also get recognition for your contribution." When people see their own benefit, they naturally feel motivated to cooperate. This principle works everywhere, whether you're leading a team, negotiating, or simply dealing with friends. Now let's move to the second part of the book, which is about 6 ways to make people like you. The first way is to become genuinely interested in other people. We often try to get others interested in us, but the real key is to flip that mindset. When you take interest in people's lives, ask about their hobbies, listen to their stories, and remember little details. They feel important and respected. This genuine curiosity creates a bond that no amount of self-promotion can achieve. The second way is very simple yet extremely powerful. Smile. A smile is a universal language of kindness. It says without words, "I'm happy to see you, I like you, and you can trust me." Carnegie says that your smile brightens the lives of all who see it, and it costs nothing. Even when you talk on the phone, people can sense the warmth of a smile in your voice. Smiling is not just about looking pleasant. It's about radiating positive energy that makes others want to be around you. The third principle is remembering a person's name. To every individual, their name is the sweetest and most important sound in their language. Forgetting it or misusing it makes them feel unimportant, but remembering it and using it often creates an instant connection. Carnegie advises practicing small techniques to remember names, like repeating it during conversation, writing it down, or associating it with something familiar. This little effort makes a huge difference in how people perceive you. The fourth way is to become a good listener. Carnegie explains that being a good listener is more powerful than being a good talker. People love to talk about themselves, but very few find someone willing to listen with genuine interest. If you give someone your full attention, avoid interrupting, and encourage them to keep talking, you will not only learn more, but also win their trust and affection. As Carnegie puts it, to be considered a great conversationalist, you don't have to say much, just listen sincerely. The fifth principle is to talk in terms of the other person's interests. This means finding out what matters to them and shaping the conversation around that. President Theodore Roosevelt was a master of this art. Before meeting someone, he would read about their favorite subjects so he could engage them in conversation. When you talk to people about what excites them, they feel understood and connected, and they naturally start to like you more. The sixth and final principle in this part is to make the other person feel important, and to do it sincerely. Every person you meet, no matter their status, carries a deep desire to feel valued. Acknowledging their worth, showing respect, and making them feel seen can build lasting goodwill. Carnegie warns against fake flattery. Sincerity is the key. Even small gestures like asking someone's opinion or appreciating their effort can make them feel important in a genuine way. Disraeli's words fit perfectly here. Talk to people about themselves and they will listen for hours. Now let's move into the third part of the book, how to win people to your way of thinking. This section is all about influence, persuasion, and handling disagreements without creating resentment. Carnegie believed that arguments rarely change minds. In fact, winning an argument often means losing a relationship. That's why the first principle here is to avoid arguments. He says, "A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still." Even if you defeat someone logically, they will still hold on to their original belief emotionally. So instead of arguing, try to find common ground, listen patiently, and treat disagreements as opportunities to learn. The second principle is to never say, "You're wrong." The moment you directly tell someone they are wrong, their ego shuts down and their defenses rise. Instead, Carnegie suggests a softer approach. Say things like, "I may be wrong, let's look at the facts together." This way, the focus shifts from ego to truth, and the person becomes more open to discussion. Remember, human beings are not purely logical creatures. They are emotional beings full of pride and prejudices. Handling those emotions carefully is what leads to influence. The third principle is about admitting when you are wrong. This may sound counterintuitive, but Carnegie says that admitting your mistakes openly and quickly disarms the other person. Instead of criticizing you, most people will actually respect you more and may even downplay your error. He compares it to a pressure cooker. When you release the steam, by admitting fault, you prevent an explosion, a big conflict. The fourth principle is to begin in a friendly way. "A drop of honey," Lincoln said, "attracts more flies than a gallon of gall." When you start a difficult conversation with kindness and warmth, the other person is far more likely to listen. Think about it. If someone comes at you with anger, your natural reaction is to fight back. But if they start with respect and friendliness, your walls go down. The fifth principle is to get the other person saying, "Yes, yes," immediately. Carnegie explains that when someone says no, their entire body and mind go into a defensive mode. But when you get them to say yes at the start, you create a psychological momentum of agreement. One way to do this is to begin the conversation with questions or statements you know they already agree with. Slowly, as the conversation progresses, they are more likely to remain in that yes state when bigger issues come up. The sixth principle is to let the other person do most of the talking. People feel more involved and valued when they get to express themselves. If you dominate the conversation, they feel ignored. But if you listen and let them talk, not only do they feel important, but they often reveal the very key to persuading them. Many times, people even talk themselves into the solution when you give them enough space. The seventh principle is to let the other person feel that the idea is theirs. No one likes to be forced or told what to do. But when people feel ownership of an idea, they are far more committed to it. For example, instead of saying, "Here's what you need to do," you can guide the conversation in a way where the other person naturally arrives at the idea themselves. That way, they will embrace it wholeheartedly. The eighth principle is to see things from the other person's perspective. This is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. Try to put yourself in their shoes and see the situation through their eyes. If you can show them that you understand their feelings, their challenges, and their desires, they will trust you and be more open to your suggestions. The ninth principle is to give sympathy. Everyone wants to feel understood. Simple phrases like, "I don't blame you for feeling that way. I might feel the same in your situation," can melt away anger and defensiveness. Sympathy doesn't mean you agree with everything, but it shows that you recognize and respect their emotions. The 10th principle is to appeal to nobler motives. Carnegie teaches us that people like to think of themselves as fair, honest, and kind. So, instead of questioning their integrity, appeal to their higher values. For instance, instead of saying, "You're being unfair," you might say, "I know you care about fairness, so I thought you'd want to look at this again." This approach inspires people to live up to their better selves. The 11th principle is to dramatize your ideas. Facts alone are often boring and forgettable. To make your point stick, add drama, emotion, and vividness. Use stories, visuals, or strong examples that capture attention. For instance, if you're trying to show the danger of smoking, don't just quote statistics. Show a powerful real-life case or an emotional story. People remember drama much more than dry logic. And the 12th principle in this section is to throw down a challenge. Human beings have a natural drive to prove themselves. When you present a challenge, people rise to the occasion. Carnegie tells the story of Charles Schwab, who boosted productivity in his steel plant not by scolding workers, but by creating a friendly competition between shifts. By simply writing production numbers on the floor, he sparked a game-like atmosphere that motivated workers to exceed their limits. Finally, let's move to the last section of this legendary book. Part 4, Be a Leader, How to Change People Without Giving Offense or Arousing Resentment. This part is all about guiding people, correcting mistakes, and inspiring improvement without making them feel small or defensive. Because remember, anyone can criticize, but it takes wisdom and patience to correct while still keeping the relationship strong. The first principle here is to begin with praise and honest appreciation. Carnegie points out that if you start with a compliment before offering a correction, the person becomes more receptive. For example, instead of saying, "Your report was full of mistakes," you can say, Your report was very detailed, and with just a few small adjustments, it could be outstanding. That opening appreciation makes the feedback feel constructive, not destructive. The second principle is to call attention to mistakes indirectly. Words like but can ruin the flow. For instance, saying, "We're proud of you, but you could do better," makes the compliment sound fake. Instead, replace but with and, like, "We're proud of you, and if you keep up this effort, your results will get even better." Such small changes in language can make a big difference in how people respond. The third principle is to talk about your own mistakes before criticizing others. When you admit your past struggles, people don't feel attacked. They feel encouraged. For example, "I also struggled with deadlines when I was your age. Here's what helped me." This creates a supportive environment instead of a judgmental one. The fourth principle is to ask questions instead of giving direct orders. Nobody likes being ordered around, but if you frame your instructions as suggestions, "Do you think it would work if we try this?" You invite cooperation instead of resistance. The fifth principle is to let the other person save face. Publicly humiliating someone is the fastest way to destroy trust. Instead, if someone makes a mistake, address it privately and kindly, allowing them to maintain their dignity. The sixth principle is to praise even the smallest improvement. Carnegie says that heartfelt encouragement is like sunlight. It helps people grow. Recognize progress, no matter how small, and you'll inspire more growth. The seventh principle is to give someone a fine reputation to live up to. If you say, "I've always admired your attention to detail," people will try harder to live up to that reputation. It sets a positive expectation. The eighth principle is to make the fault seem easy to correct. When you show faith in people's abilities, they gain confidence in themselves. Even saying something like, "I know you'll master this in no time," can work wonders. And finally, the ninth principle is to make the other person happy about doing what you suggest. Show them how the change will benefit them, and they'll feel motivated instead of forced. So, friends, when we put all of Dale Carnegie's wisdom together, we see a very clear picture. Success with people is not about manipulation or domination, but about respect, empathy, and sincerity. Whether it's avoiding criticism, giving genuine appreciation, understanding other people's desires, or leading with kindness, these timeless principles can transform the way we connect with others. And remember, this book was written almost 90 years ago, yet the advice still applies today in our workplaces, our friendships, our families, and even online interactions. If you practice even a few of these techniques, you'll notice how people respond differently to you. More warmth, more trust, and more respect. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe this channel. Like this video and share it with your friends who also want to improve their communication and relationship skills.